Have you ever wondered why, when you look in the mirror, you see an average man, but when she looks at you, she either melts or walks away like you're invisible? Why do you always assume you're not that attractive, like it's just a fact written in stone? You don't see it, but sometimes they do. And sometimes they see more than even you dare believe. So why don't you? Here's the quiet truth most men never get told. You've been trained to underestimate your presence, not by accident, but by repetition. From the time you were a teenager, what did the world teach you? That attraction is all about chiseled abs, towering height, flawless jawlines. And if you weren't that guy, if you weren't a Calvin Klein model or the tall, loud alpha in the locker room, then you were just there. Background noise, support character, best friend material. So you adapted. You learned to value your personality instead. You compensated. You downplayed your looks before anyone else could. You beat them to the punch. And that right there is how it begins. The self-erasure, the chronic underestimation, the false humility that women can feel the second you enter a room. And here's the thing most men don't understand. You don't get judged just by your looks. You get judged by how you carry them. A man with average features who believes deeply in the weight of his presence will always outshine a man with model genetics but no sense of his own impact. That belief, it's the difference between invisibility and tension. It's not delusion, it's projection. You broadcast how to treat you long before you speak a word. You've felt it, haven't you? That moment when you liked a girl, and the more you liked her, the more you tried to be nice, to win her over, to be the good guy. And somehow, it backfired. She started pulling back, acting cold, treating you like a friend or worse, a child. And you told yourself it was your looks, that you're just not the type women chase, that it's easier for other guys. You blamed your face, your height, your hairline. But what you didn't see was this. It wasn't your appearance, it was your posture. You bent toward her. You shrank. You started behaving like a man trying to earn approval. That's not attractive. That's appeasement. And women can smell it. You see, she wants to feel your gravity before she sees your face. She wants to sense that you're not waiting for permission to exist in her world, that you already belong in your own. This is why some men you'd call average, plain, nothing special can walk into a room and leave women speechless, because they never flinch, they never look down, they never broadcast doubt. They're not louder, they're quieter but heavier. You want tactical clarity? Start here. Stop deferring. Stop softening your tone. Stop over-smiling. Stop looking for her reaction to decide if you're enough. The moment you look at her like she's the prize and you're the lucky exception, you've already lost her curiosity. Don't ask to be seen. Assume it. Here's a scenario you know too well. You're texting her. She used to reply fast. Now she takes hours, sometimes a day. You panic, you double text, you get playful, send a meme, you think you're being fun. In her eyes you just collapsed your own image. You taught her that her indifference makes you try harder. Now she's in control. Not because she's more attractive, but because you just showed her you don't believe you are. You trained her to see you as lower value. Women don't consciously think this way. It's not calculated, it's felt. It's emotional instinct. And the moment a man undervalues his own presence, a woman starts questioning why she should feel it either. This is where you recalibrate. From this point on, you respond slower, not to play games, but to prove to yourself that your time isn't defined by her attention. You hold eye contact, not as a test, but as a reflection of how grounded you are in yourself. You speak slowly, not because you're trying to be cool, but because rushed words are for men trying to prove they belong. You already belong. Here's another shift when you walk into a room. Scan for your equals. not your betters. Look at women like mirrors, not mountains. You don't climb them. You see yourself in them and decide whether the reflection fits. You don't chase validation. You broadcast standard. That subtle shift. It flips everything. But let's go deeper. What's the moment you felt least desirable? Go there. Was it when she looked at your friend? Not you. When she said you're sweet, but when your joke landed flat and her eyes drifted past your shoulder, that pain you carry, that shame, it's been rewriting your identity for years. It's time to burn it. Attractiveness isn't a gift, it's an aura, and that aura is built from silence, boundaries, restraint, and indifference to external opinion. You don't earn it, you own it. Have you ever acted nicer or more agreeable just because you thought it would make her like you more? What happened next? Have you ever assumed you weren't attractive because one woman pulled away without realizing it was your behavior, not your looks? Which moment from your past still defines how you see yourself today? Let it out in the comments. Let's talk about the face you see in the mirror, not the one with tired eyes or uneven stubble. Not the one you critique when the lighting is harsh. I mean, the expression, the energy behind that face. Do you know what women notice before your jawline, your skin, your height, your self-regard? You walk into a room and you might think nobody notices you, but your presence speaks. And it says one of two things: I belong here, or I hope I'm accepted here. And brother, that difference is seismic. Because the guy hoping to be accepted is invisible, or worse, he's seen as weak. And here's the part nobody says out loud. Most men don't lack attractiveness. They lack self-permission. They don't allow themselves to be desirable. They don't own their masculine energy, their tension, their eye contact, their stillness. Why? Because they've been conditioned to fear being too much, too intense, too confident. So they dim it down, smile more, soften their posture, over-explain, and guess what happens? The woman feels nothing. No polarity, no mystery, no draw. She might say, he's really nice, and mean it, but that's it. She doesn't feel pulled toward you, and that's not because of your looks. It's because you didn't carry your edges with pride. Let me be brutally honest here. Most women don't know what kind of man they want until he walks away from them, because that's when the confusion kicks in. Wait, why didn't he try harder? Why isn't he chasing me? And in that moment, you're no longer the predictable guy she placed in a box. You've become something else, something harder to define, and what's hard to define becomes magnetic. Now here's the trap men fall into. They try to perform confidence. They think if they fake it, she'll respond. So they act aloof, overdo the swagger, use scripts. But women aren't stupid. They read emotional cues faster than you can fake them. They know when the indifference is real and when it's a shield. So how do you build real gravity? You stop reacting. Let's say you're talking to a woman and suddenly she checks her phone. Most men will try harder, change topic, add a joke, regain her attention. You know what that tells her? You're auditioning. You're adapting based on her micro-signals, and that's the moment she knows she controls the frame. But if you just pause, sit back, let the silence hang, you do something rare. You imply you're not afraid of her disinterest, and that subtle refusal to flinch. That's what makes her look back up. Stillness is power. And most men are terrified of it. Now, let's take it a step further. You're on a date. You feel it's going well. You compliment her. She smiles. You ask a question. She answers, but then shifts, withdraws a little. Most men go into fix mode. They escalate effort. You okay? Did I say something wrong? They seek reassurance. And that's the death of attraction. Why? Because your desire just turned into need, and need destroys tension. Real desire Masculine desire is grounded. It doesn't flinch when she becomes unpredictable. It doesn't spiral when she takes time to reply. It doesn't self-edit. It observes. And then it decides. You don't just think, I want her. You ask, is she good enough to keep my attention? Not out of ego, out of clarity. You know your worth. You know your energy is rare. You know your time is expensive. So you don't trade it cheaply. Here's a practical shift you can start using immediately. The next time you're talking to a woman you're interested in, don't try to be liked. Don't try to prove you're funny, smart, or successful. Let those things reveal themselves naturally. Instead, focus on feeling your own body. Stay aware of your posture, your breathing, your tone. Speak slower. Make her lean in. This changes everything, because suddenly, she feels your presence before your words. She feels your containment. And that containment, your ability to hold your center, is what makes her feel safe and intrigued. That's the paradox. She's drawn in, not by your effort, but by your refusal to need her response. Let's flip the script now. Imagine a guy who's not conventionally attractive, average height, no gym body, maybe even a little awkward, but he never tries to impress. He looks people in the eye. He moves slowly. He doesn't over-explain. And when he speaks, there's no rush. He makes people slow down to match him. That's masculinity. That's the man women remember days later when nothing even happened, but something lingered. That man exists inside you, but you've buried him under layers of self-doubt, performance, fear of rejection, and false modesty. You don't need to add anything. You just need to remove the noise. So ask yourself, when was the last time you stayed silent in a moment of tension and let her come to you? Have you ever caught yourself performing attractiveness rather than embodying it? What's the one fear that still makes you shrink in front of a beautiful woman? Type it out in the comments. Say it out loud. Make it real. Let's get brutally honest about where this really comes from. You weren't born thinking you were unattractive. You were trained to think that way. Trained by a culture that measures male value by things you can't always control: height, money, status. And when you fell short in one area, even for a moment, you started believing the whole package wasn't enough. It wasn't a conscious decision. It crept in. Maybe it started in school, when girls liked the loud guy with the fake confidence. Maybe it was when the girl you liked chose your friend instead and you told yourself, it's because I'm not good looking. You didn't realize she wasn't chasing looks. She was chasing how she felt around him. He acted like the sun revolved around him. You didn't. That was the difference. Every rejection, every silence, every time you were overlooked, it added another invisible brick to a wall called, I'm just not attractive. But here's the twist. It wasn't your looks that made you feel invisible. It was your reaction to being unseen. You absorbed rejection instead of reflecting it. You internalized her silence as proof of your inadequacy. You made yourself small. And here's the cost. You now walk into every interaction with a deficit. You assume you have to earn her attention. You approach her as a favor to yourself, not a gift to her. And that energy, she can feel it before you say a word. Because women don't just look at you, they read you. You want tactical clarity. Here's where most men fail. Let's say you meet a woman. She's beautiful. You get nervous. You try to say the right thing. You put on the smile. You over-engage. You ask too many questions. You lean forward. You try to hold the moment. You think you're being warm. She feels smothered. You think you're connecting. She feels pressured. Why? Because your behavior says, please like me. I don't know if I'm enough unless you reflect it back. And no woman wants to feel that weight. She doesn't want to be the mirror for your self-worth. She wants to feel your worth the moment you arrive without needing her validation. Let me give you a practical move, one that flips the entire frame in under 5 seconds when you feel the urge to prove yourself. Pause, don't lean in, don't fill the silence. Don't start listing reasons why you're impressive. Just breathe. Look her in the eye with calm detachment, and instead of thinking, "Is she impressed?" ask yourself, "Do I even want her beyond her looks?" This shift creates instant tension. It's not rude, it's not cocky, it's powerful, because now you're evaluating too. You're not chasing, you're choosing. Women aren't used to being truly evaluated by men they're attracted to. Most men go soft in the presence of beauty. You don't. You hold your ground. You keep your silence sharp. That's rare. And rare is desirable. Want another strategy? Stop calling yourself unattractive even in your mind. You think it's harmless self-deprecation, but it seeps into your energy. It makes you second-guess your approach, your tone, your right to be bold, and that hesitation. That's what kills the vibe, not your nose or your jawline. Instead, replace that mental script with a question. How would I act right now if I believed she already wanted me? Seriously try it. Every time you feel small, run that line through your head. You'll notice your spine straightens, your voice drops, your eyes relax, because suddenly you're not reaching for connection, you're receiving it. This isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. You're not trying to become someone else. You're trying to unlearn who you were taught to be. And at the core of that is this truth. Your attractiveness is a decision, not a genetic lottery. It's in your tone, your stillness, your refusal to flinch, your standards, your lack of rush. It's in your ability to walk away from a woman who doesn't treat you with warmth. It's in your ability to slow down when everyone else is chasing. Want to know the fastest way to destroy a woman's perception of your value? Start explaining why you're a good guy. I'm really respectful. I'd never treat a woman badly. I'm not like other guys. Every time you say that, you're disqualifying yourself. You're telling her, I think you wouldn't see this unless I said it. You're making her responsible for believing something about you. That's weak. That's insecure. That's unattractive. You don't tell her you're the prize. You behave like it. And if she can't see it, you move on. Quietly, with no resentment, because the man who values himself never begs to be understood. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever talked yourself out of making a move because you thought, she'd never want someone like me? Have you ever seen another man, less attractive, walk away with the girl you liked and wondered what he had that you didn't? Have you ever apologized for who you are before she even judged you? Put it in the comments. Let's break that pattern together. Let's go deeper into the moment you look in the mirror and still don't believe it, even after everything we've unpacked. You've heard the logic, you've seen the signs, you know it's not just about bone structure or jawlines, and yet something inside you still whispers, you're not what women want. Why does that voice still exist? Because it's not based on fact, it's based on repetition. Every time a woman didn't look your way, every time someone joked about your appearance, every time you were the friend instead of the flame, you added another tally mark in the column of not enough. And now, your mind has built an entire identity around a lie. But here's what no one tells you. Most of the world has no idea how attractive you really are because you keep hiding it. You slouch your shoulders to avoid attention. You laugh too loud to cover nervousness. You apologize with your body language before you even speak. And all of that noise, every movement, every flinch, every hesitation covers up your presence. It's like wrapping a glowing ember in wet cloth. You're still warm, but the world can't feel it. Now imagine this. You walk into a room and say nothing. No smile, No performance, no need. You sit down and stay completely still. You observe. You breathe through your nose. You make eye contact with exactly one person and hold it. No smirk, no tension, just silence. That is magnetic, because it signals something rare, a man who isn't asking to be noticed, but cannot be ignored. Do you know how many men are out there trying to be charming, loud, fun, impressive thousands, but the man who can command with silence, who can stand still and not shrink under beauty, who can say less and make her feel more, that man is unforgettable. And that's who you're becoming once you stop lying to yourself about your worth. Let's get strategic again. You want real application. Stop dressing like you're trying to disappear. Look down at your shoes, your shirt, your hair. Are they neutral, safe, forgettable? Most men dress like they're trying not to be seen because deep down, they fear what would happen if they were. What if she looks and still doesn't want me? So you play it safe, and that safety kills your energy. Start wearing one thing that makes you feel dangerous. One ring, one scent, one shirt that fits like armor. One item that reminds you I'm not invisible anymore. You don't need to peacock. You need to signal to yourself that you're done hiding. When you do that, women pick up on it. They feel your shift before you even speak. And when they test you and trust me, you won't flinch. Because you're no longer performing. You're not trying to be enough. You know you are. That inner stillness. It shows in every micro behavior. You won't rush to reply. You won't force eye contact. You won't overpraise, because now you're leading with centered energy, not hunger. Let me give you a moment you'll recognize. You text a girl. She responds slowly. Her tone is colder. You panic. You think, did I mess up? Did I say too much? Should I say something else to fix it? Stop. That panic is the addiction to female approval talking. Breathe. Don't react. Don't try to recover the vibe. Let the silence burn. Let her feel the loss of your warmth. If she respects you, she'll come back on her own. If she doesn't, then your clarity protected you from being someone's emotional doormat. Women aren't the enemy. But your self-abandonment is, because the more you sacrifice your posture, your tone, your timing, your boundaries just to keep her attention, the less she respects you. Not because she's cruel, but because you just taught her that your identity is flexible, that you will shape-shift to fit her comfort. That's not masculine, that's erosion. So here's the new play. Be willing to lose her. Yes, be willing to lose the girl you think you can't replace. That's the only way you become the man she never forgets. When you can look her in the eye and say, without words, I want you, but I'll never beg for you. She'll feel something most men never give her, a man who has himself. And that's the rarest currency. That's what beauty remembers. So let me ask you again, have you ever changed your whole tone, your whole approach, just to try and keep a woman's attention only to feel smaller after? Have you ever dressed, moved, or spoken in a way that made you disappear even when deep down you wanted to stand out? What's one thing you've been afraid to wear, say, or do because you were scared it might make you too visible? Put your truth in the comments. Here's the truth that most men spend their entire lives avoiding. You were never unattractive. You were just unwilling to be fully seen. You've lived behind a mask of modesty, a wall of nice behavior, a prison of quiet self-doubt. Not because you wanted to, because you thought it was safer, more acceptable, less painful than risking rejection and finding out you weren't enough. But that's the great illusion, isn't it? You weren't hiding your looks, you were hiding your power. Every time you hesitated to hold eye contact, every time you downplayed your thoughts to be easy to be around, every time you laughed at her cold behavior just to keep the peace, you gave up a piece of that power, not to her, to fear. The fear that if you brought your full self to the surface raw, grounded, masculine, it would be too much. But let me tell you something, women will never say out loud. They're not starving for smiles and small talk. They're starving for weight. A man whose presence speaks louder than his words. A man who can be still in the storm. That kind of man she doesn't forget. Even if she walks away, she compares every other man to him. So here's the final shift you need to make. Stop chasing attraction. Start embodying it. Because attraction isn't something you get from others, it's something you generate. And it comes from this core decision. I will never again shrink to be liked. That one commitment changes your voice, your posture, your entire rhythm. It gives you gravity. You don't chase, you don't prove, you don't entertain. You choose. Now, let me show you what this looks like in real time. You're out. A woman you're drawn to walks by. She's stunning. Most men either ignore her to look cool or try to be charming immediately. Not you. You hold eye contact. No smile, no tension. Just presence. She breaks it first. You nod once, slowly acknowledging her, not inviting her. And then you walk away first. What does that do? It flips the frame. You didn't make her the center of the moment. You made her a part of your story, not the prize. That unsettles her in the best way. It stays with her. She'll wonder who you are, why you didn't try, why you looked at her like you saw through her beauty instead of being blinded by it. That's power, and you can bring it to every moment. You don't need perfect genetics. You don't need more money. You don't need to grow taller or speak smoother. You need to stop hiding. Because when you stop hiding, your eyes change, your silence sharpens, your attention becomes selective, and your energy becomes scarce. And brother, in a world where men give themselves away too easily, scarcity is irresistible. Now listen carefully. There will be days when you feel invisible, days when the rejection stings, when you look in the mirror and that old voice tries to come back. You're not what she wants. And in that moment, you have a choice. Do you go back to shrinking, or do you lean into the discomfort, stand taller, and remind yourself, she doesn't validate me. I validate the experience of being with me. Because the moment a woman senses that you don't need her attention but still choose to offer her your presence, she will feel something she can't explain. A tension, a pulse, a shift. That's not game, that's essence. You are the standard. You are the filter. You are the decision, not the applicant. The second you own that, your attractiveness becomes undeniable. Not because the world told you, but because you stopped asking. So now, ask yourself, what are you willing to stop doing today to reclaim your presence? What part of yourself have you been hiding behind humility that's actually just fear? And who do you become? Once you no longer need to be seen to feel real, she didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.